buckle your chin straps for the wildest podcast held in the Steel City. Dubs and Chickenhawk will give you a taste of the past in fried jumbo.
That guy, it was Mickelson was interviewed not too long ago, and he was saying the same thing you were about professional golf. He said, you either got to be really dumb.
Yeah.
I mean, as dumb as a stump.
Right.
Or you got to be super smart, and you got to methodically work your way around a golf course. You got to, do your homework before you get there. You got to do your computer work. You got, like biometric stuff. Mm-hmm. You do all that stuff, and there's two different people, and the ones that really struggle are the ones that can't adapt. They're sort of, they're not, academically challenged, but they're not the super brightest folks. Yeah. They just have a hardest time.
They're just kind of between. It's like, oh, I know I'm a fade player, but I got to draw this. I know I can draw it. I've been doing it in the rain, but they don't know how to just there's another good sports psychology book I read with the Brewers. It's called the Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
Yeah,
it's an aggressive title, but it's actually it's a great book, and a lot of it's learning to let go to move forward. Like
what Todd was saying.
How do you say oh, I don't give a fuck what this person thinks about me, and because I'm doing this, and oh, what if I hook this? There's no what if.
Yeah,
it's no.
You can't ever be negative at any sport to play at a high level, but there's a lot of pro golfers that have talked about that. You mentioned Ricky Fowler. He got into a funk. He changed his swing. He was a very flat swing, moved to a very vertical swing. So he was overthinking everything. He was thinking too much instead of being an athlete. But I think with hard work, it does come more natural to you. I think that, they get caught in that vortex and can't get out of it. A lot of guys that, good golfers that we know, get caught there. Yeah. Because they're caught between your ears.
Yeah, I have a Ricky Fowler theory. When Ricky really started to struggle, he started coming out with his own clubs, those copper ones.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen those?
No.
There's butter knives, and this is you could get you're on a diet butter knife.
A what?
He was playing blades that
were thin.
They were the smallest clubs ever made.
God.
And it's he was oh well, yeah, I think he got too much on that end.
Yeah.
And then now he's playing better.
He's doing a lot better.
He went back to almost player improvement clubs.
Oh, okay.
And all of a sudden he got better. It's why make it? It's a classic example of
why
don't make it too hard on yourself.
Yeah. If you practice enough,
keep it simple.
That, right?
Yeah. Do you remember Dudley Hart?
Yes, Dudley Hart.
He was a really good pro.
Yeah.
He might have won 5 times or something.
Yeah,
but this is back when maybe he's a little younger than Rocco.
It was the 80s and
he was the 90s, early 90s. Yeah, maybe Davis Love kind of thing. He came to an event for Merrill Lynch when I was working there, and he talked about the key to golf. And I always thought it was interesting. It comes down to you have to aim, instead of aiming at, the left side of the fairway, you got to get so specific in your mind that you were talking about in your sport. You want to be you're picking up blades of grass out there.
And small, miss small.
That's just old military.
Yeah.
Aim small, miss small. Right. Snipers,
And he said, listen, if you stay in that the entire time, in that frame of mind,
focused.
Even if you blow a shot, your next chip, you're close to the green. Your
miss is smaller.
Your miss is so much smaller, and then even when you're chipping, if you don't land that ball within a foot of where you're aiming as a chip, you got a big problem. So he said, you normally can scrape around par no matter what, just by getting focused on your aim. So I don't know. I always stuck with that. When I ever get worried or not, like you said, you start thinking, oh, what if I hook this? You got to get that thought out of your mind, and you got to pick out a spot exactly where you want it, and it'll change your brain to hit it there. Your swing could be all over the place.
So I joke with people. I have a doctorate degree in baseball, and a lot of that
you pretty much do.
A lot of that's the sports psychology of it, and we have these meetings every spring training with these sports psychologists. How do you teach guys to be in that frame of mind? And I've done breath work classes. And, you'd be amazed what you can do with your breath.
Breathing. Deep breathing.
You want to drop your heart rate, take 5 slow breaths, and you're taking it from 160 to you'll see a lot of guys now as
I do see that a lot.
You ever see guys step in the box, look at their logo?
Yeah, and they take a giant breath.
Drops their heart rate 20 degrees. Now they're in more of where am I now state. Like if your heart rate's so high, your brain can't.
Yeah, it's scattered.
It can't get to that state, and that's like a sports psychology tactic essentially. The military obviously utilizes it. Like a lot of the sports psychologists like have a military background for some of the teams I've been with. It's just really interesting. Like I said, like how do you take the human mind, the human body to perform at an ultimate level?
Ultimate level, right?
And you'd be just amazed, like how much goes into that, and like what and what it looks like in books, and like we have sleep seminar, like so the Philadelphia Phillies, big league spring training. You're talking about Bryce Harper, all these guys around. They took an hour of our spring training day to bring the sleep guy in to teach you how to sleep better.
Yeah,
because it matters.
Sleep matters.
It's huge.
It matters that much. We're like, this guy was selling beds and like, hey, this bed helps you sleep this much. He talked about like the ground. Have you guys ever heard of grounding?
Oh yeah.
He gave like a 10-minute speech on like grounding and what it does for like your
those grounding blankets and everything. Yeah.
This was like, hey, if you can get outside and like get your feet on the grass.
Yeah.
That
stuff.
This is like so like a lot of you ever go to like get to a Pirates game early enough, like I guarantee you almost see a pitcher in like bare feet out there shagging BP. Because it's like
that's why they say living at the beach is such a big deal because you're grounding yourself all the time.
And the older I get, like I bought into because like you start to just be a little more cognizant of it. Like today was sunny, like we're all having a good time. Like,
it matters.
It really does, and like you start to buy into that. Like you're at the field, and like I get my feet on the ground, and so one of the first things I do every year is like when I get to a new place is like I'm buying like black curtains, like. You get because like you'd be amazed just sleeping in the dark what it does for your body. And our schedules are so tight. We're like I'm going to bed at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. most of the nights, and so I'm sleeping till 10 or 11. But if that sun's shining through that blind, like you're not getting to the sleep you need to.
Right.
You're not recovering.
So what do? You take your own curtains to hotels, or
I normally take a drill and I just screw blankets onto the
thing.
Like you black that window, like
Right.
sunlight does not enter here because the second your eyeballs see sunlight, your body
wakes up.
circadian rhythm starts to wake up, and I say it's a big like through all these sleep seminars, like all that, like you start to learn like how much that matters, and it's one of the things early I did in like my life. I did my senior project in high school on like sleep.
Oh yeah,
and it was just amazed at like what I learned, and like. I forget a lot of the stats, but like they've stuck with me throughout my life. Where like I'm not a huge like cold tub, hot tub. I do the Normatec lay. Like all I've really bought into in my career is like I need to sleep,
rest.
Like, and I would say it takes what it takes. Or like I'm sleep like my family comes. My wife knows like I hate it, but like I'm sleeping till 10 or 11. Like. Wake the kids up, take them outside because
I gotta sleep.
I'm not waking up at 7 a.m. and then playing a game at 7 p.m.
Right.
When I'm catching that night.
That sleep is so important, especially with the reactions you have to have at 95 mile an hour fast.
And like
you gotta be on it, man. You know what's funny when you were talking about that Zen? When you talk about the deep breathing, I just noticed it with the younger quarterbacks in the NFL. Did you see the guy from Baltimore? Or from Buffalo? What's his name? The real good quarterback.
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen, the guy from Washington. Did you see those guys chill?
Yeah,
they go like as soon as they get off the fild, they get over that bench by themselves.
Yeah,
and safe space. Like
you can just see them zenning down. They're not looking at a thing. They're just trying to get in that space, right?
Screaming at
That's
somebody.
the hardest part about like sports is like even after games, like that locker room has to be the safe space of like
right.
Whether it's, you drink a beer, you go sit in the hot tub, like there's just a routine of it where it's like, how do you shut your brain off so that like when you get and then like actually one of the most important things I've learned in my whole career. I was in high school. It was like a travel team seminar thing. This Team USA coach came. I don't even know who this guy was, but he made this big speech of like Team USA, like what we preach, all this. But one of his big things is like he mentioned like family gets the best of us, not the rest of us, and it's always stuck with me because like you go to the field, you struck out 3 times, like you come home and your wife's like, oh, how are you like shut up, honey, like
can't do it,
like you have to learn to like
shut it off,
flip that switch. And it's
Don't bring your work home.
and
And it's in
not
every
even,
career.
It's not even
It's in work. It's in work too.
It's any career in your life.
Yeah.
Like I think it's one of the best things you can learn. Like you want to be like you want to have a family, you want to have a wife, you want to be happy. Like you have to leave work at work.
Oh yeah, my wife I don't even think knows what I did.
That's what like
I'm not kidding you.
my wife's
I don't think she
similar.
knows
Like,
what I did.
She talks to me about baseball, but I'm like, I just don't even like get it because it's just like I don't even want to talk. It's not that I don't want to like fill her in and like talk to her, but like it's like no, my brain's off from work.
Yeah, you gotta
like,
turn it off.
You know, and it's the same. It's even in like any sport you do. Like it's not even like a mechanism of like your wife loving you. It's like, hey, you hit that bad shot, it's gone.
Yeah, you gotta get rid of it.
You ever enjoy Greg Norman's greatest line is you just gotta flush it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah,
we
and
need a
it's
back
easier
shot,
said
you
than
flush
done.
it. you got to. Gotta flush it. Yeah, but that is even true in your career, you know, as you get through it, because there's always stressful times. You gotta be able to walk away. Chris and I bow hunt, fish. The reason why people go, how can you sit in a tree stand all the time? You know why? Because I'm zenning out, man. There's nothing else
we talked about it before we even started this thing. Like he has this cool Murphy door, and I'm like, I need that at my house.
Yeah.
Like a guy just needs a place to hide.
Yeah, it's weird
You know,
about
Even
that.
a woman, everybody who's stressed out does, right? They need that space.
I think you know, it's different. I don't know. Tammy always liked to talk about her work. I don't know. Does Ann talk about her work?
She does, but you know, we've learned to flush it. I'll tell you, yeah, you have to. You have to walk away and have something that I call it mindless activity.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you mentioned you're going to you need a tractor to cut. You wait. I call it diesel therapy, and people laugh about it. I said, no, it's called diesel therapy. You get on that tractor,
It is a guy
and it's
thing.
going boom, and you're just cutting lines. And all that baseball, all that work is just like, fuck it, I'm just cutting lines, right? And it's called diesel. You know, you need that. Everybody does.
Anything like
my wife goes to the
people have
gym.
different ways of seeing it.
My wife goes to the gym every day.
Yeah, they're social.
Yeah, they are more social.
Well, I guess I can't say it gender-wise, but there are people that I think they're more on the extrovert side. They enjoy communicating and talking and interacting, and that's the way they relax.
Yeah.
That's not how I relax. You know, I need separation, and I feel bad about it. But it is what it is. Everyone has to have, like you said, their way of finding. But I know enough.
They call it D-cell, right?
Yeah, whatever you need to
I
do.
think that's sports. I think that's life. Like, you want to learn to be your best self. You have to learn what brings that out.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I said that's a lot of pro sports.
Well said.
That's the best
we
way to
have
say
meetings
that.
where it's like, hey, you just have to learn yourself better.
Mm-hmm.
I said, and like, there's different. One of the coolest things about getting older is you just really start to appreciate how different brains are.
Yeah.
Like, holy, like, why is that guy even thinking about that? Like,
it's
not
crazy.
even in the back of my brain. Like, you have to appreciate like how different,
How unique
people are. And like I said, a part of being like your best self is like what gets you going, what shuts you off. Like this is a trigger for me. Like and like I said, and the more you can recognize that and learn from it, I think you start to learn like your best self. And that's professional sports is like, you know, Aaron Judge needs to hit the ball in the air harder because he hits more home runs. But like Altuve needs to maybe hit it harder or lower because that's like, he's not as big as Aaron Judge.
Right. He's not going to carry it out of there.
In professional sports, it's all just maximizing like, what do you do that's special?
What's it like when you got someone throwing like 98 or something? I mean,
That's what I mean,
coming
like,
at you. What does that feel like?
So that's what you start to learn, like the perspective of like a lot of baseball is like the pitches you swing at and like the matchups you have. Where like for me, it's like sidearm righties that like sink, like they're like a little bit like they throw it from a slot that's behind your head.
Mm-hmm.
It's just uncomfortable to me. It was uncomfortable for a lot of guys, and it's like
That would drive me nuts.
You face
it's like you're blind.
So you
to
face
it.
a guy like say like a Chris Sale, like lefty on lefty, like Chris Sale's coming from behind you. Or,
You don't pick the
or
ball
like,
up.
or like a Jake Arrieta that's like right from behind a righty. It's like that day you leave that day saying, "Holy shit, do I feel bad?"
Yeah.
You have to take the perspective of like, well, that's because like that guy just doesn't like he's not a match for me.
Right.
He doesn't
Right.
fit.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you're sitting there saying like, why do I feel so bad? But you have to recognize that, well, that guy's like he's my kryptonite.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel bad.
Oh,
Not
that's
because
interesting.
not because my swing's bad, not because my body's bad. But then you get the lefty guy comes in or the right or some guy that like matches your
Like what you can see.
your eye exactly.
Yeah, but you see real
Just
well.
like a golf hole, like I'm gonna stripe this
Yeah,
drive.
Yeah, like for you it'd be a left to right, or for
Yeah.
me it'd be a right to left.
It
I
just-
like to hook the ball.
it
You
just-
like to fade the ball. So
It
yeah.
just sets up, and then so instead of saying they're like, oh, my swing's bad, you have to recognize that like mentally, like I'm uncomfortable right now.
Yeah.
And you have to be comfortable getting like, okay, when I'm in an uncomfortable mode, like this guy is, how do I go to compete mode?
Yeah.
And it's the compete mode that gets you through it. Like whatever it is, just find a way.
You just grit it out, find a way to get the
ball.
That's like golf with you. It's your Jim Furyk, you know.
Yeah,
I'm going to Furyk. And
that's what I do.
it's this funky, janky swing. You're like, what the hell are you doing?
Your go-to.
But like, it's comfortable for him, where it's like he's not thinking of no longer about like, what's my takeaway? What's my swing? Like, it's just
take it, loop it, and drop it.
just hit it.
Yeah, what it is impact.
I'm a great golf brand.
It's the foot before and the foot
Oh,
after.
you got him going now.
Just hit it. Just
you
hit
got
it.
him going.
No, seriously.
It's really
that's
simple.
why golf.
Just
That's
hit
why
the ball.
golf's so great. It's literally like your brain, and the ball.
Yeah.
And like, can you get your brain out of the way?
Exactly.
It
Can you
is.
quiet it down? Can you quiet your brain enough to actually
And you can
be
see
an athlete and hit the damn ball?
And you can see some of those Ricky Fowlers when they're struggling, that they're inside their head too much.
Oh.
And you got to wait for him to get on the other side of that. You
That's
know
what
if
I
he
said,
works hard enough. he'll
Like
get there.
people joke around me, oh, you can go professional golf. I'm like, imagine like this actually mattering. I have to hit this shot at this time. Like, you think that's like, oh yeah, like you know, it's just like there's so much more going on in your mind, and
they're
it's
just
like,
different level, man.
That's
Yeah,
why they are who they are. Like, because they're that much better that shot shows up when it needs to.
Yeah.
Compared to the like, oh, I'm nervous, I'm shaking, like you know.
None of that comes into play.
That's what like
play enough competition.
That's what I joke
That's
around.
crazy.
I've competed my whole life, and I've always seen it as a strength of mine. Where like, there hasn't been many sports I've been bad at,
Right.
but it's like a lot of it's like because I love to compete,
Yeah.
and that's become like a personal like affidavit for me. Where there's my college program too. Like, it was one of our mottos, like competition is king, and you saw guys get weeded out that were like they couldn't handle competition.
Yeah, they don't like it.
Like they didn't like.
They might have had the talent, but they just didn't know
They
how
had
to
the talent, but
dig it
like
out.
when the competition really got going, it's like, oh well, my arm's dragging, and you know, it's like you either won or you lost.
Well, that's what they say. You gotta have killer instinct, right? And golf really is like that. You can see the guys that are gonna fade, and the guys like the Phil Mickelsons, when he's got a chance to cut your throat, he cuts your throat.
That's what like Tiger was the
Right?
best at.
Yeah, Tiger was amazing.
Tiger
That's
was,
like
he
you
was another level from.
You essentially
Him
get
and Nicholson and look like idiots.
you essentially get like a sports
really
psychology like master class of like if you hear these guys talk about like what they do and like you're like it's all it is the sports psychology of it of like like the positive of like I'm gonna win, like a personal belief of like and like that negative thought, man. It's like they talk about a lot of like your self-think. Your self-think is like your best weapon. It's your best destroyer of like how you talk about yourself, how you think about yourself, how you put positive thoughts in your mind. Like there's water left. Like all right, like well now I'm going down the middle.
Yeah.
There's water left. Like I hope I don't hit in the water left.
Yeah,
you're going into the water.
You might as well forget about it, buddy. It's a pull hook.
It is. Like if you watch Ron play Howard, right? Because he's one of the best, I think, at very specific aiming. You know, like he looks odd when he plays golf because he's very slow to the ball.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of bothers me because I'm like,
it bothers a lot of people how slow he is.
yeah, but I mean, he's slow to the ball. He has the exact same routine.
Yeah, if you played with him, you know, because like I joke around that I have pitch shots that I hit that I call Ron Howard shots because he's like real wristy and it's like the club just like throws into the ball, and you're like, oh, if I could just do that, but that's a classic example of like. You not being your best you, and like, well, that guy looks like so. Like, let me just do what he does. I've really struggled with that in my career. Like, the best athletes are very normally visual learners because athletes can only see than do.
Right.
And I've really struggled with like whenever I watch someone hit, like I can almost feel it where it's like, oh, I'll just do what that guy's doing.
I'll try that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just have to really like. Well, now I'm trying to do something that a guy with longer arms and bigger hips and longer fibula, he's doing. My biomechanics don't line up with it, and it's like, so that's the wrong path, you know.
And you could get lost in that forever. I feel like.
So I do pitch shots that Ron Howard where like I get real wristy.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. I just flick the club.
it doesn't work out
If
well.
I do it on the range, it's great, but whenever it's not the best me on the course, I can tell you that.
No, me neither. I have to.
His pace is different than most,
But
everybody's.
But why I like his game is he very specific about his aiming points and stuff.
Yeah.
Like when he's chipping, he's not thinking about that. I call it the snuffleupagus. He has like an elephant. Like his swing is so. It's like an elephant trunk. It just
Yeah, it's like the club just falls into the ball.
falls into the ball.
I know, for
But it
100
goes
years.
where it always goes where he aims it because he's so rigid about where he's aiming it. People don't realize that. That's the strength of his game. It isn't his length. It isn't any of that. He takes everything out of it other than aiming and tempo. He maintains his tempo and he aims at a very specific thing. And he's got that shit down.
Oh, yeah,
Like his aiming, but his aiming is unbelievable. I mean,
That's become a strength in my game. Is like, what kind of shot do I play?
Yeah,
I fade the ball.
Yeah,
there ain't never a shot where I'm like, and Dustin Johnson, like I said, that's where like just listening to other guys. Like Dustin Johnson's like, how many draws you try to hit this year? He's like, I don't try and draw the ball.
No,
unless
Well,
you're forced to do.
You mentioned a guy that doesn't overthink it. DJ's famous for not overthinking.
Yeah,
it.
he's a classic example of like
just pure.
so dumb that he's so good.
It's pure athlete.
You know,
Yeah,
I guarantee he's smart, but
well,
he don't think it.
You know,
Like
where'd
you
he go?
said,
East
he-
Carolina, or where'd he go?
Yeah, went to East
Coastal
Carolina.
Carolina.
Coastal.
listening to him has helped me be so much better at golf because it's like he's the guy that, like he's like, no, I'm like, well, I just fade the ball too. So like, yeah, like if he's winning Masters doing that, why would I ever sit there and
Try to draw.
I'm sitting on the range like working on drawing the ball.
Yeah.
It's like, no, just perfect the fade.
Oh yeah, there's a
Perfect-
guy, Bruce
perfect the
Litsky.
ball that just falls right.
Remember Bruce Litsky?
Yeah.
He played 19 tournaments a year. He's deceased now, but he was a really special golfer. But he played a big banana fade,
Yeah.
and
He's gonna play it.
it's funny because he would never practice. He never practiced. Okay, played 19 tournaments a year, made like 19 cuts. Maybe he would win one every 3 years or something like that. I don't know how many total wins he had, but he was always in the top like 50 with money. And people would get pissed off at him because he never practiced. He would just play that fade. He were like, why would I try to reinvent who I am? So one of the pros hit just wanted to see if he's lying or whatever. So he hit a banana in his driver head cover. And so like when they come back for the beginning of the year, like maybe they played in the Bob Hope as the first tournament,
Right.
he was going to wait to see if he had taken that head cover off or not. And sure as shit, it was a black rotten banana.
I heard this. I think it was his caddy.
Yeah, his
His caddy was like.
He has to practice.
His
He has
caddy
to
was like
practice.
pissed. It was like, and so his
I've
caddy
never
put
heard
a banana.
In there.
And then like the caddy got to the next tournament. It was like 3 weeks.
No, it was a season. Like he
Yeah.
never even practiced. Ever. Because he would say, I don't do it. I don't practice. I don't go hit balls.
And people were like, no, you're too good.
I go home, I hunt. He's a big fisherman.
Yeah.
Hunt and fish. And my life is totally different. I don't do this. God gave me this ability to hit this golf ball and
In a certain way.
a certain way, and it
Made him a lot of money.
made him a lot of money. And Kenny Perry's another one.
Yeah.
He's in the cars and hunting and fishing.
He said that's where like your best self, and like then you look at the DeChambos of the world.
Yeah.
Oh,
That
yeah,
guy-
he's over the top.
That guy,
Scientist.
That guy can't walk without telling you this is my dorsal flexion in my foot. And,
Right.
He's going the opposite direction.
takes-
of-
It depends
But
on
each
what works for
person,
you.
I think, I don't know, you ever do them studies or tests that tells you if you're right brain or left brain or introvert, extrovert? There's a million different of them out there.
Oh, yeah.
They're, I'm trying to think of the one.
Companies
Is it
do. What is it
Myers-Briggs?
called? Yeah.
And you got Wonderlic, and you got all these
Wonderlic.
different tests. And professional sports uses them a lot.
Oh,
and,
sure, yeah.
and they'll give you feedback on
Big companies always
do it.
do it with their senior employees. They'll have you take this test.
These tests.
See how you fit
Corn
in.
Ferry's actually a company that does those tests. That's what they do. And, that's probably why they're in the golf bit. I think they sponsor the one.
Yeah, Corn Ferry Tour.
Corn
right.
Ferry Tour,
Must be
yeah.
Nike Tour.
But it'll tell you exactly the way you think and process. And I would guarantee you that DeChambeau fellow is probably 90% left brain,
Oh, God.
That's what I mean,
10%
yeah.
right.
And that's I worry about it with my kids, and I get in these arguments with my wife now. It's like you have this school system that essentially teaching kids like, hey, you go to school, you do your homework, and this is like you do this. It's like,
Yeah.
what about all the kids that are like this is not how they operate. And
Right.
I think the older I get, I'm like, she's like, what do you mean you're against school? I'm like, I don't know. I'm like, what if our kids like don't fit the school? But my older brother was one of those kids that like, just an absolute problem in the school classroom. Like couldn't operate, like his brains, but
committing mess.
he's in the construction business now with 10, 15 employees, millionaire, working, working hard out. Like, but he figured out like that's what he does. And like, but like
fits him.
If you look at the school system, like he was just a misfit. Like they're just like.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's awful.
That happens a lot. You see that a lot, and a lot of people are very successful when they get out.
And they also, I think, school systems through the years have gotten to the point with their teaching the tests and things. They've gotten rid of all creativity.
Yeah, it's good. That's what I mean. So
it's not good.
I talk a lot about that with like even like baseball, anything. Like I coach a lot now where it's youth sports, and I think you can coach the special out of kids.
Mm-hmm.
So like a lot of that's like you have a kid with a really funky swing who just hits the ball.
Yeah,
and you're like,
puts the bat on the ball.
You're like, hey, you can't
fix that.
You can't do that at the next level.
Who
are you to tell that kid?
Yeah.
And you know what's taught me that is professional baseball. I played with guys that hold the bat with their thumbs up.
That's insane.
And you're like, exactly.
Yeah.
So
I think it'd break the wrist
I watch coaches tell them they can't do that.
Yeah.
And then I watched that same guy change his grip, do all this, and double way. He was a first rounder. I'm not going to drop names, but he was a first rounder, $2-3 million signing bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Hit 200 his whole career. Finally in double way, he's just about done. Where they're like, just writing this is a loss.
Yeah.
He goes back to holding the bat with his thumbs up.
Yeah.
He hit like 330, 20 home runs. Was in the big leagues later that year. He's still in the big leagues right now.
Yeah.
Gold Glove center fielder.
Went
And
back to what?
it's like, who was the fucking coach that told him that you can't? Because now he's laughing at that guy. He's made millions of dollars. So I coach these youth kids now. I was like, you can or you can't do that. Maybe you can, but like, you really just have to be a master of yourself.
Yeah.
If you do this, but this is how you do it, and you do it the best. If you hit the banana slice and that's all you know how to do, but you've mastered it, you're better off than some guy that's trying to do everything.
Yeah.
Oh, I can do it this way. I can do it that way. Like, nope, this is what I do. I will not hit in that water because I know my ball's going right.
Oh yeah.
And
you might not. I don't know. There might be someone along the way that can't go as far. Win every. Like Tiger Woods was able to move the ball both ways or whatever, and you win Masters by fading the ball, and you win U.S. Opens by drawing the ball. But you still can have unbelievable success.
Oh.
Being yourself.
but if you like Shane Lowry, if you just master,
he's a great. I love him.
Be your best self, like
That dude is unbelievable. That's Shane Lowry.
Yeah.
You'll find your success there, where it's like you said, you can never. It's anything you do in life. You try to make everyone happy, no one's happy.
You're right.
You try to do
You're
everything,
right about
like
that.
you're never doing anything. Like you just literally have to like pick your path. Like this is what I'm gonna do. If you're a man on a mission, then like be that man on the mission until people all of a sudden they go like, maybe he's not crazy.
Yeah.
I think they said professional sports, business, school. You want to be an artist. You want to be a tattoo guy. Like really, if you do anything passionate in your world, and you're passionate about it, and you're convinced you're right, like if you work hard enough, you'll find a way.
No. Well, you know what? Welcome to America.
Exactly.
We're also in a great country where those opportunities abound. You get other countries you can't do that. But you're right. In America, you're exact. You see that with so many people.
They said, well, we're 27th in the world at, mathematics and all this other stuff. And you got all these other countries that are way ahead of us and speak 3 and 4 languages, but they can't.
Right.
But they test.
They don't have a freedom to be creative.
Well, a lot of them come here and they fail, or not as successful as the guy who wasn't so smart in school, who was a little more entrepreneurial, a little freer thinker, a little bit more imaginative.
I've become like dangerously free thinking. Where like,
I think it's the key.
I've just started to like question. Like it's. I think it's so true. Like you question everything.
Yeah.
Like do your own research. Do that. Like you because you have to know what's best for you. And if you just constantly let people tell you what's best for you, you'll never, like, no matter what you do, like, it's like, hey, you got to do this test. You're going to do like, hey, this is how your swing has to be. Like, if you let other people dictate your life of what's best for you, like, you'll never be happy.
No.
And like, until you find that inner happiness of like,
Well, that's true happiness. A lot of people go through life, they get through life. I should say
trying to
they
make
get
other
through
people
life.
happy.
Yeah, they get
like
it.
trying to make
They
them.
don't
They don't really enjoy it.
enjoy it. Yeah. And again, it's stuff you learn. You know, you're learning it at an early age because in sports, like you said, they're trying
Yeah,
to
they advance you quickly.
they're trying to get you psychologically developed to a point where you can maximize your skills.
Yeah, like I said, do
Yeah.
breathing class.
When you're young enough to do it.
When you're young enough,
Yeah,
but
'cause-
when you're in a company, they don't invest money into a lot of their people until they're maybe executive level or
Right.
getting close.
Right.
You know, so there's this period where you're just toiling and no one's investing in you as a human being. And that's a tough place to be.
Yeah, you gotta grow yourself.
Yeah.
I've always you talk about grass is greener on the other side. Like I play professional sports and it's great and love it. We were the ones sitting in the bullpen saying man, I would destroy an office job. Put me in an office. I'll climb the ladder. I think that's a fun task, but that's because I haven't done it and seeing the other
It's
side.
not
The
as
grass
easy
is
as you
greener.
think.
You can do
Exactly.
it. It's just the issue with it is
It's not
that
enjoyable as much as enjoyable as it can be.
there's a nature to it. It's
There's
very
a kiss
odd.
in the ring of
Yeah, it's a
it's
really weird thing. You almost need someone advocating to help you get there because you could be the best salesman, the best manager, the best whatever. And if you're not willing to move on the moment that they tell you got to move, and if you don't want to do exactly the way that they say to talk to somebody about the corporate philosophy, that you know it might you don't even know it, you don't even think it's true. But if you're not willing to walk that line of saying, this is my belief system, and they're saying me to challenge that, I got to go in front of 1,000 people and say what they want me to say when I know it's not true.
You
Those
can't
are
do
the
it.
those are the points where you make decisions,
Yeah.
and and the corporate America is not like baseball, because in baseball, if you can hit that ball and you can catch the ball well, you're gonna rise. You know, no one can stop someone that's phenomenal at something, but a company can.
Yeah.
Because they can stop you like that. Because I hate to say it, I've seen unbelievable executives. Their whole careers get derailed because other executives are intimidated by their
success.
their skill.
I can see it. Yeah.
So, like, if you're a executive VP and you see someone coming up that's a VP and they are slick as can be and they have a tremendous amount of talent, sometimes those people get backburnered for years.
Self-preservation.
Because it's self-preservation. There's a conflict of interest in certain companies to develop folks the way that should be. So it's very odd. It's a different environment.
That's what
When you're young, you're able to kind of work through it. When you're older,
Yeah, you see
you're
it
like,
right in
F
front
you.
of
Yeah, it starts to get frustrated.
Yeah, you're like, see
I
you
joke
later.
with my buddy.
We both done that.
Yeah.
You got it between the ears. So
Well,
it's
Max,
really been
yeah.
great.
It's been great, huh?
Yeah, it's been a great
It's been a
conversation.
great
appreciate
conversation.
it.
Thanks.
Appreciate
brother.
it.
It's a pleasure to sit across the table from a Chickenhawk.